opening places.
Governor Tim Walz, when announcing changes to the stay-at-home order, showed a timeline of the state's COVID-19 response so far and looking into the future. Some businesses that deal with customers, like pet groomers and repair shops, can reopen Monday without letting customers inside. His timeline marked the possibility of fuller reopenings later on in May, and the opening of businesses like barbershops is last on his timeline. The order is causing frustrations with many business owners and Republican lawmakers who hope more of those businesses could fully reopen on Monday.
And I just want to be clear, those who are saying that we should open up all businesses tomorrow because this thing's not that serious and we overreacted, they are wrong. Those who are saying we should open up as fast as we possibly can because this is causing huge economic damage and we should figure out a way to do that is the safest possible way to do it, those people are right. That is exactly what we should be doing, and that's what the state of Minnesota is doing.
State leaders say they consulted with the National Retail Federation and Minnesota Retail Association, who recommended opening in phases, such as curbside pickup and delivery, so that both businesses and customers could acclimate to a new normal of shopping during a pandemic. Governor Walz said he's open to making changes before the 2-week order expires, depending on the circumstances.
That was Lou Raguse reporting. Republican House Minority Leader Kurt Daudt said in response, for thousands of other businesses, being closed until May 18th could be a devastating setback that they may not recover from.